Buongiorno ragazzi and welcome to a new Italian 101 video. Our topic today, adjectives, gli aggettivi. So, as usual, I'm going to start slowly by reminding you things that we have done in the past. In this case, that we have already talked about three groups of words that exist in both English and Italian. And remember, we're classifying words according to their function, according to what they do in sentences, right? So we have talked about articles, about nouns, and about verbs. Nouns are words we use to name stuff, right? Things, living beings, places, ideas, all of those things we refer to with nouns. Then verbs are the words we use to talk about actions. And articles tend to come before the noun and they tell us whether it's something specific we're talking about or something in general, right? So let's just remember for a second what those look like by looking at a sentence. A sentence that happens to refer to this particular video. The professor is boring. So where's the article in this sentence? Right here. That is our article. In fact, it's a definite article, right? And then where is the noun? Right here. Professor is our noun, right? So the professor, the combination of article and noun, tells us that we're talking about a specific professor, right? And then where is our verb? It's right here, is, right? We talked about being the most basic action, and the verb to be is the one that we use to refer to that action. So is our verb, right? Those are the three types of words that we have studied so far. Today we're going to start doing another one, adjectives. So where is the adjective in our sentence? The professor is boring. Well, you already know, right? There's only 4 words. We already classified 3 of them, so boring must be our adjective, right? That's our adjective. But what are adjectives? Well, adjectives are words that we use to describe nouns. For example, in the previous sentence, the professor is boring. If you think about it, the adjective boring is describing the noun professor, right? It is giving you some information about that noun. So words like tall, cold, happy, heavy, or strange, or red, or white, or fast, those are adjectives, okay? Let's look at some sentences and find the adjectives, right? Let's find the words that are describing nouns. The woman drives the yellow car. What word in here is describing a noun? Woman is just referring to a living being. Car is referring to a thing. Drives is our verb, right? It refers to the action of driving. And then we have the twice, which is an article. We know that. So yellow is our adjective. And if you think about it, yellow is describing the car, right? That is why it is an adjective. It is describing the noun car, so we know that it's not any car that the woman's driving, that it is a specific color, right? The word yellow, being an adjective, is telling us something about the object that the noun is referring to, right? Let's look at another sentence. The man sleeps in the big bed. Where is our adjective? Big, right? Big is describing the noun bed, right? How about the old clock rings in the morning? Where is the word that describes a noun here? Old. Old describes the clock, right? So it's an adjective. One final example, the coffee is good. Clearly, good would be our adjective, right? It's describing the noun coffee. So adjectives describe nouns, okay? Now, how do they work in Italian, which is our main interest for this video? First, we need to notice where adjectives are placed in sentences in English so that we can compare this to Italian, right? So look at these examples. The boring professor, the intelligent student, the long books, right? So in English, you typically have the adjective before the noun. You don't say the professor boring, you say the boring professor, right? In Italian, the order is different. In Italian, the adjective comes after the noun. So you don't say the boring professor, you say il professore noioso. Noioso means boring, and notice it's coming after professore. You don't say the intelligent student, you say la studentessa intelligente. Again, intelligente is coming after studentessa. You don't say the long books, you say I libri lunghi. Okay? So that is the first important rule we need to remember. Adjectives come after the nouns in Italian, right? And then another very important rule is the gender of adjectives. Okay? We talked about nouns in Italian having gender, right? We also talked today about adjectives describing nouns. So it makes sense, if you think about it, that the adjective has the same gender as the noun it is describing. Or speaking in more technical terms, the adjective must correspond to the noun in terms of gender. Right? Let's look at a couple examples. It's all about boring professors today. So, il professore noioso, that is the boring professor. Notice noioso coming after professore. And we know that professore means male professor, right? But what if the boring professor is actually female? You would say la professoressa noiosa. And notice that I changed the ending. It's not la professoressa noioso, it's la professoressa noiosa, right? Because professoressa is feminine. So I have to change the adjective for its feminine version. Okay? So, how do you change the gender of adjectives? Hmm? There are basically two types of adjectives. Hmm? Adjectives that end in O or A, right? So you use O for masculine and A for feminine, like the example we just saw. Noioso. Il libro noioso, la professoressa noiosa. Right? And then there are also adjectives that end in E, like intelligente. And these are easier because there's actually no change. Look at these two examples. Lo studente intelligente is the intelligent male student, right? La studentessa intelligente is the intelligent female student. I changed the noun, right? Because we already know from the vocab list that studentessa is the feminine version, but we did not change intelligente because intelligente is an adjective that ends in E. Okay? That is how adjectives work in Italian. So, again, two very important rules. One, they come after the noun, and two, they must have the same gender as the noun that they are describing. So if the adjective ends in O and you want to change it for the feminine version, you change that O for an A. If the adjective ends in E, there is no change. Ok? Grazie ragazzi. A dopo.